Just born and raised, it's plain to see. This is how we roll UP. I got stories, let me tell it. Bow and arrow and a dope ass mullet. Take one shot, that's all it took, son. When I fish, it takes one hook, son. Hunt big game, just take one look, son.
All right, welcome back to episode 13 of the You Gotta Want It podcast. Today is December 28th, and I figured we'll get one more out to end 2025 here. I haven't done any hunting since the last podcast, just been watching the cameras, and a lot of bucks made it through muzzleloading, and looks like they're going to be making it through late bow too around us. So got a couple cameras left out. A lot of deer moving around. Got a big snowstorm coming in tonight, expecting 8 to 12 inches up in the hunting grounds. After muzzleloading, it got warm again, so I was just up there Saturday checking the cameras out and looking for any early sheds. And there was barely any snow on the ground, but I think the deer are in for a rude awakening tonight. We had a lot of misty rain the last probably 12 hours, and now tonight it's changing into snow, so they're going to hit pretty hard. Going to be a tough 24 hours for them. Supposed to be blowing up to 40, 45 mile an hour winds too once the snow lets off. And going to be a rough 24 hours probably for the deer. So hopefully they can make it through this. And yeah, like I said, I was up there yesterday, and found the first shed of the season. Small 4-point. Didn't find the other side of them, but only looked like there's 2 bucks that dropped half their rack so far. So didn't expect to find any really, and ended up finding that one right near the camera, so that worked out pretty good. Still 2 consistent shooters on the camera, the 10 and the double fun point buck. He's been double fun point buck's been on the camera quite a bit more now since muzzleloading ended, and the 10's been on every day. And then last night picked up a new buck. Would have to go through the photos from earlier in the year to see if familiar with them, but it just looks like a high 8. I think he's on camera this year, but I'll have to go back and double check. But pretty cool that another buck rolled in. I figured once the snow was gonna melt and get warm, there was a chance that we might lose some deer or gain a couple deer, and end up gaining that 8-point. Just showed up last night, so hopefully they lock into the spots now with this big storm coming, and hopefully drop some sheds here next week or so, and we can be pretty cool to get one of the nicer buck sheds this year. But yeah, going into 2026, it's looking pretty good. We got 3 potential hit listers already coming up for next year, and a lot of 2-year-old 8-pointers and 6-pointers running around too still. So this is the most bucks we've seen on camera going into January, so in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's pretty cool to see that got a lot of bucks hanging around now. So expect good things next year again. So for the private land, I'd say it was a pretty decent year. We ended up managing to get 4 bucks off it. Big Jeff got 2 bucks, 1 in bow, and a really nice one during rifle season. Really good mass on that one. Something that we were really looking to get year in and year out, and that's kind of the caliber of bucks we're trying to get on the property. And didn't end up getting any of the bigger bucks at the bow, but hopefully a couple of those made it, and we know a couple did at least. Hopefully some that aren't showing back up made it as well, because there are some really good bucks that we'd like to get a crack at. But all in all, pretty good year. We ended up getting 4 bucks. I got an 8 with a muzzleloader, and so did my dad, so should be exciting 2026 on the private land. Hopefully a fairly easy winter again this year for the deer. Hopefully after this storm rolls through, and hopefully things warm back up a little bit and gives them a little break. And as long as there's not a long drawn-out winter, I think we'll be good, and looking forward to what the bucks grow into next year. So I think this time of the year is a good time to reflect on how your season went, the good and the bad, what to take into next season, and what to work on, what you got working on, what to work on your properties, what to work on your setups, and kind of look back on how your hunts went. Did you bump deer? Did you get winded a lot? Did you get any shots off? Did you have some nice bucks in range that you couldn't get a shot at? Just kind of reflect on everything that you can think of, and it's a good time to do that and build on the next season that's going to be here before you know it, and hopefully you have a better season than you did than previous year. Ask yourself why you didn't get a buck. Was it because you passed a lot? Was it because you didn't have any shooters on camera? Was it because you didn't have any shooters in range? Was it because you're in the wrong area? How was the food on your property? If you hunted public land, think about how the season went there for you. Did you have bucks on camera? Did you have bucks in range? Was the sign there to go back again next year? Did you find sign during season, or is it good? I mean, before this storm coming up, it would have been a good time to get out and scout some new areas if you need to have new spots for next year on public land, or just to scout the private land you've been hunting. So, just like I said, it's a good time to reflect and figure out a game plan for next year. I'll be thinking about that now, and what we can work on the property, and what we can build on that we did well this year, and what we can grow on. And there's a few things that we can build on, and a few things that we got to take care of this off season, and always work to be done in the springtime. So, like I said, whether you're hunting private or public, it's just put some boots on the ground and see what these deer have been doing the last couple months. And if you can't get to your spots now, wait till spring and get some more game plans together for next year. And it's always a good time to get in the woods and scout and get eyes on spots. So when October and November comes, you put the time in and you get rewarded with a nice buck. So a couple highlights for me this season was definitely muzzleloading weekend. I think everything aligned perfect for us up here. Heard a lot of talk around that muzzleloading was phenomenal this year up by us. Like I think I said in the earlier podcast that the weather was perfect. We had snow on the ground, 6-7 inches, and the deer needed to be putting the feed bags on, and yeah, it worked out for a lot of people. It sounded like a lot of people saw a lot of good deer. A lot of deer were seen at where we hunted, and that was our best muzzleloading weekend we've ever had. So nothing to complain there. I mean, I saw 4 8-pointers and 3 sits, and over 40-some deer. So it was a phenomenal weekend, and definitely a highlight of my season. Missouri was a pretty good highlight as well. I did have some down days while in Missouri, but all in all, it was a great trip, and we came home with a nice buck that Brian ended up getting on the 3rd day. So it could have been a lot worse. And you hear horror stories about how going on outfitted hunts can be just a total disaster. But we got really lucky going with John in Missouri, and couldn't ask for a better trip other than filling a couple more tags. But the opportunities were there. We saw a lot of deer. Accommodations were phenomenal, and just like I said, having a great guy that wants to have you have success is one of the major things to see in an outfitter, and could have gone a lot worse. And I think everyone that went on the trip would agree that it was a great trip. So that's another highlight of the season. Bad part of the season was probably the first couple weeks of bow season, just because how bad the weather was. It was 70s and 80s the first, if I remember right, the first 2 weeks. I know the opening weekend I didn't hunt because it was so hot. So just a non-highlight of the season would probably be the weather for the first couple weeks. Definitely was a lot harder to see bucks. I didn't see a rack buck until I think the 3rd week of season. I'd blame my bad early season on the weather. It was not ideal. We didn't get any good cold fronts like we've had in the past years, and that gets bucks moving. But yeah, I'd say the early season weather was not the greatest for me, so that would be that would be my non-highlight of the season. A couple things I learned, or I would say take away from the season, would be first one, trust your spots, whether that's on public or private. The sign's there. If you got past history of the spot that shows that the bucks will be there at some point in the season, just trust it, because it seems like every year we give up on the kill plot, and every year the biggest buck on the property is always there at some point in November. And we just happened to be in Missouri this year when he was there, and he came through in the morning and would have presented a perfect broadside shot, the Big Ten. And that's just a spot that over the years it doesn't produce a lot of action early season, but if you put the time in there, you're going to get a shot at the big buck usually. The last, I'd say, 4 years, the biggest one's been on there. So that goes for a couple other spots as well. Just for your spots, just trust them if the sign's there. And like I said, if you got past history of bucks, and it seems like if they're reoccurring bucks from the previous years, and you don't disturb the spot too much, they're going to show up there almost like clockwork at the same time of the year. So just trust your spots. Another one would be maybe change up the food a little bit on the property. Seems like the Nebraska is getting destroyed before end of October, so there's nothing really there for them to eat. We had a pretty good growing season, I thought, this year, and the amount of browse the Nebraska can keep up with the amount of deer we had on the property. So gonna look into maybe changing the seed blends a little bit this year. Maybe focusing more on some rye and cut back on just using mostly Nebraska and maybe get something that's more browse tolerant. Another thing would be getting some better screens set up for the food plots. Some more permanent screens, I'd say. I think we always have nice shooters early using the plots, and then October comes and it always seems like we got good bucks up until maybe second week of October, and then they start noticing that there's more activity up at camp. And I think if we can get a better permanent screen set up in the front of the property at our food plots, I think that'll help out all the property as a whole, and I think we'll see a lot better results. Another takeaway would probably be to hit the public land a little bit more during bow season than this year. I didn't even bow hunt public land this year at all until rifle season, but in years past, the private land would get slow towards end of October, and none of the shooters would be daylight, so that's when I would jump to public land. But this year there's tons of bucks, and then there wasn't really a need to jump to the public land this year. But I think having a couple of spots picked out for next year, just in case things get slow, or if something's showing up on public land, that would be a good option as well. Maybe look into getting a saddle. That would be the easiest to bounce around on public land. I know I got the hang on stand set up that I can do, but maybe just biting the bullet on buying a saddle would be an easier, quick setup on public land. But yeah, just more options the better, I think. Lastly, I think something we've been seeing the last year or two on the private land would be just bet on these deer a little bit more. Not all these deer are going to get shot if you pass them. We've seen it this year at least, that 3 of the shooters that we would have shot didn't end up getting shot, and now look at they're making it into 2026 if nothing happens to them over the winter. And like last year, we had a couple that made it through during rifle season that made it through, and we thought those were definitely going to get shot, and they didn't. So just bet on your deer a little bit more. Don't always think that the neighbors are shooting them. If you're passing them, maybe they are as well. And these deer are smart. They find ways to survive, and obviously if they weren't smart, I'd have a lot more deer on the ground the past couple years. So yeah, count on your deer, bet on them, whatever you call it, and yeah, just if you build it, they'll come back. And, it shows this year. Hopefully they come back again next year on the private land. So that's going to do it for 2025. Pumped out quite a few podcasts this fall. Had fun talking about how my hunting was going, and what I've been hearing, and what other guys have got that I know. And it was just a kind of a fun fall to get back into the podcast game and talk a little bit about hunting. And so we'll probably break here for a couple more weeks again, and maybe come back on and talk. Hopefully I find a bunch of sheds from now until then. But we'll come back and talk a little bit about deer if we have anything to talk about, and then look forward to spring turkey season coming up here in a couple months, and Seeing Red 4 is back. So hope you guys are having a good holiday season, and have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2026. This is You Gotta Want It podcast, and we are out.